Hi, this is Joe again with another movie review. And since we're only a couple of days away from the actual 25th anniversary of the film, I'm going to be discussing the Batman movies. Starting, of course, with the 1989 original Batman movie, which came out on June 23rd, 1989, and I'm doing this video on June 20th, 2014. So it's only, like I said, a couple of days from the 25th anniversary of this original film. Now, previously, in the previous video, one of my early videos, I discussed the two cut scenes from Batman. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, please watch that video that I did called Cut Scenes from Movies. I'm not going to rehash the two scenes that were cut. I'm not going to do that. But like I said, the original movie came out on June 23rd, 1989. And a surprising choice, Michael Keaton playing Batman was chosen to play Batman and Bruce Wayne. And Jack Nicholson, who made a boatload of money on this film for playing the Joker. You also had Kim Basinger playing Vicky Vale, what a name. And you also have Robert Wall, in the film, playing a reporter. And really, the first Batman was really taken from the point of view of the two most insignificant characters, I feel, in the Batman universe. That's Robert Wall's character, playing a reporter in a local Gotham paper, and Vicky Vale, the Kim Basinger character, was a photographer who worked with Robert Wall's character. It was Knox, Alexander Knox was Robert Wall's character's name. So I'm trying to get information on Batman, and Vicky Vale was kind of turned on by Batman. All the girls like Batman because of the car. It was dealt in one of the other films. But like I said, the film was the blockbuster film of the whole year. Even though that 1989 was, other than Batman, it was the year of the sequel. Because you also came out at the same time. You had Ghostbusters 2, you had Lethal Weapon 2, you had the third Indiana Jones movie, you had the James Bond film License to Kill, you had Star Trek 5. All those movies came out the same year. But the only one that was really a bomb was Star Trek 5, and you can see that video review I did. But for Batman, like I said, it was a huge deal, because lines were around the block to see this film. Because I remember, because it was the day that I graduated from high school. It was the day that Batman came out, and when we went by the movie theater, the local movie theater was showing it near me, the Midway in Forest Hills, Queens. My grandmother says, "Why is there such a line in the movie theater?" I said, "Well, because they're playing the Batman movie, and today is the first day that it's out." She goes, "Oh, well, is that the reason?" I said, "Yeah, that's the reason." Then of course they have, the classic lines, mostly from Jack Nicholson, who says, "Where do you get those wonderful toys?" In the scene in the museum, where the Joker trying to seduce Vicky Vale's character. And then you have, of course, the soundtrack by Prince, and the songs by Prince throughout the film. And of course, Danny Elfman wrote the score, and he wrote the score for two superhero franchises. The original 4 Batman movies, which I'm going to try to get through in this video, and the Spider-Man films. Now, like I said, I do enjoy this movie, even though it's the two scenes I mentioned were cut out, and you can argue it may be dated by today's standards. But what Tim Burton did, one of them, like he didn't know that much about comic books, and also didn't know that much about the universe of Batman, because Batman was already established already. As the film starts off, it's not like in the Christopher Nolan films, where he had this whole backstory with Batman, how Bruce Wayne became Batman, why he chose that life. But when this particular Batman, the first real Batman, well, this is not the real first Batman movie. I'm going to get to that in a minute. This particular film was devoid of, because everybody at that point grew up like I did, grew up with the original 1960s television show where you had the sound effects and the cheesy dialogue and the cheesy way that Batman was just getting out of every situation. So he didn't have that pow and bang, zits, all those crazy words that flash on your television screens. This was just Batman by himself. He had no Robin. Robin was not even mentioned in this film. He wasn't even in this film or the next one. Because he was, so for some reason they cut out Robin for some stupid reason. Maybe because there was like too many beginning storylines or origin stories for this film. Because the problem with a lot of the Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher films was that they concentrated more on the villains and not Batman, trying to defeat the villains. And there's mostly the villains trying to one-up Batman all the time, trying to either defeat him or kill him. And Batman just having to be lucky enough to defeat him. That was the problem with these films. Unlike the Christopher Nolan films, which went the other way and trying to have how the Batman can defeat the villains in the Christopher Nolan films. But here, it's like the villain's trying to one-up him all the time. And that's what Jack Nicholson does as a Joker, trying to one-up Batman in every instance. And that's what turned Michael Keaton off. Because he got angry and annoyed that Jack Nicholson stole every single scene that he was in. And stole, had the best lines. Batman had, the funniest stunts. Like a guy running down the hallway, and he just went, goes right in front of him, goes like this, bam, and the guy hit in his arm, and then fall over, and stuff like that. Well, like I said, the first one was so successful that it took 3 years to make the sequel, which was called Batman Returns. And not only did Michael Keaton came back to play Batman in the sequel, but also you had you had the Catwoman, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, and you had the Penguin played by Danny DeVito. And like I said, you had the only one that actually come back for all four of the films was the guy who played Commissioner Gordon and the guy who played Alfred the Butler. They're the only ones that came back. And, well, let me go back 1 second for the original Batman film. The guy who played the mayor in the original Batman film looked just like the mayor that we had in New York at that time, Ed Koch. They looked exactly like him. It's almost to the New York accent almost. But in 1992, we had Batman Returns that came out, and that was also just as hugely successful as the original Batman film. But the problem was there was a huge disappointment. The reason why it was such a huge disappointment was it had too many subplots in the film. First, you had the very opening of Batman Returns was the origin story of Oswald Cobblepot, who of course that's the real name of the Penguin. He had the whole thing with his original origin story. And of course the scene that got the big laugh was the guy who played the Penguin's father was Paul Rubens, aka Pee Wee Herman, who a year before got arrested for exposing himself in an X-rated movie house. So he had that little controversy with Paul Rubens went into the scene of the beginning of this film, so there's no more controversy over that. But it was interesting to see the origin story of Penguin, because unless you happen to have the original comic books from the 1930s or early 40s, where the Penguin story was originally revealed then, he really didn't know the origin story of Penguin, because he wrote with the cartoons, either 1960s cartoons, which I never really saw, or the cartoon series from the 70s, or even the cartoon series of the 90s. You never really saw the origin story of Penguin. You never really did. So it's kind of interesting if you're kind of a comic book geek to see the origin story of these villains. I mean, it wasn't interesting to see it, but it does take away from Batman. And Batman was like almost like a fifth character in this film, because they so concentrated on Penguin and Catwoman's story, and Michelle Pfeiffer, and you do have Catwoman's backstory in this film, as well as Penguin's. So you had two origin stories in this film, and you had Christopher Walken playing Max Schreck, was pulling the strings through the whole film, because Michelle Pfeiffer's character, Selena Kyle, was actually the secretary of Christopher Walken character named Max Schreck, was like a rival businessman to Bruce Wayne, and he tried to kill her and push her out of a window. She landed in an alley, and all these alley cats, or stray cats, somehow resurrected her. And that's kind of a close-out scene. And then, of course, she goes nuts, and it was kind of disturbing how she went home and pretty much wrecked her little apartment. I mean, to me, it was kind of a disturbing scene. And of course, when you saw her dressed up as Catwoman for the first time, it was kind of sexy to see her in a tight outfit. And with her looking that whip. And then, of course, you had her trying to get revenge on Max Schreck. You had Max Schreck trying to use Penguin to be possibly the next mayor of Gotham City. And you had that subplot. And you have, of course, Catwoman seducing Batman, and Batman or Bruce Wayne dating Selena Kyle. You had that thing going on there. So you had so many little subplots. It became such a huge distraction. It became annoying. And it became a kind of like a waste. Kind of like a waste of time to even watch. But it was good, but not great. But it did have some great action scenes. Not even the action was all that great. And the first one was, but the second one, like I said, was a waste of material, waste of the acting talents of these guys. And anyway, like in the first movie, the Joker gets killed off in the end of the film, and in the second movie, the Penguin gets killed off, as well as the Max Schreck character. But then 3 years, like I said, but 3 years later, they came out with the third Batman movie, which was called Batman Forever, and this time they had even a bigger cast, even bigger stars in this film. What happened was, like I said earlier, Michael Keaton got annoyed that they focused more on the villains than they did Batman. Because it's going to be a Batman movie. Why can't they focus on Batman? They never really did. They never started off with his origin story at all. I mean, they did mention it in the original movie, in a flashback scene. But one thing that was annoying was, in the first, I go back to the first one, when Alfred brought in King Basing's character to the Batcave. And they had absolutely no reaction out of Batman. Say, "Hey, Alfred, what the hell are you bringing him down in the Batcave for?" That type of stuff. That didn't ruin the whole thing. To me, so how come we didn't? Yeah, how come we didn't get mad? Alfred, how come we didn't chew him out? And by the third, so like I said, after the second movie, Michael Keaton agreed to do the second film. But after the second movie, he said, "That's it. I'm not going to do these movies anymore. If you're not going to focus on Batman, I'm not going to do these films anymore." So he quit. Tim Burton quit as a director. So he brought in Joel Schumacher came in, and this time he added Jim Carrey, who played the Riddler. And of course, the first time in a live-action film, because this character was not introduced in the 1960s TV show. There's Tommy Lee Jones playing Two-Face, or Harvey Two-Face, which is kind of a discontinuity with the films, because in the original film, 1989 film, Billy D. Williams played Harvey Dent in the original movie, in the original 1989 Batman film. So, and of course, actually, anybody who knows who Billy D. Williams is, he's black. Now we're talking about from black to being a white actor. Tommy Lee Jones playing the character, and he was like an over the top performance, and he was very good at playing Two-Face in the film. But then when Jim Carrey became the Riddler, but halfway through the movie, he stole the rest of Two-Face's thunder in that film, and Two-Face became a secondary character. And since Michael Keaton left, after the second film, Val Kilmer, who of course is more famous for playing in the Top Gun movie, Tom Cruise, took on the part of Batman. And of course you had Nicole Kidman in here as a psychiatrist, trying to do a diagnosis on Batman. And also you ended up bringing in Chris O'Donnell, who was hot off of Scent of a Woman, playing Robin. So finally, after 2 movies without having Robin in it, now you finally have Robin. And I thought Chris O'Donnell was very, very good in this film. And of course, you have little hints. You see why how he became Robin in the film, and his origin story. So once again, you had technically you had 2 origin stories in the film. You had the Riddler, and you had Robin in it. You see Robin going after Two-Face, because Two-Face was the one who set up his parents to be killed in a circus scene. Then you have that, and also you have the big reveal at the end, and how Two-Face ends up getting killed in this one, and now instead of one of the 2 villains gets killed. I guess they get tired of killing all the villains, So you had the Riddler going nuts, and he's in the asylum. But of course, the big thing for me when Jim Carrey's in the chair, in his throne chair, turns around and he says, "Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?" He said it just like that, and I thought that was terrific. The way he delivered that line, I thought it was great. And but I don't like Jim Carrey because he really does these over-the-top performances, and really, if it was Frank Gorshin doing it, I would have liked it. I guess maybe Frank Gorshin, who was still alive then, was too old to redo the part again. So, but it would have been cool if they would put the original Riddler from the television show in the movie, but they didn't do that. Since this movie was the most successful, even just as successful or even more successful than the 1999 film, I'm sorry to keep referring to the 1999 movie. And that 2 years later, they came out with the worst movie of the movie that almost killed the entire franchise, which was called Batman and Robin. And this time they got the biggest actor they could find to play one of the villains, and there was Arnold Schwarzenegger who played Mr. Freeze. And he used all the freeze puns, or the ice puns in this movie. "You're not going to put me back in the cooler," or "I'm going to put you both on ice," only take a chill pill. And he came up with one pun after the other. And you also used Uma Thurman, who came off of Pulp Fiction, to play Poison Ivy. So other than Catwoman, this is the only real female villain they had in the whole Batman movie series. And she was like over the top. You also have, very briefly, you have Bane in this movie. Of course, anybody knows the comic books knows that Bane in the comic books nearly broke Batman's back, and Bruce Wayne couldn't be Batman anymore. So you had someone else take over Batman in the comic books after that storyline, but he was like a secondary character, and he was called, Bane in the film. But of course, Val Kilmer, after he did one movie, didn't get along with Joel Schumacher, so he brought in the hottest actor on television, which happened to be George Clooney, because he was still doing ER at the time. He came on and played Bruce Wayne and Batman, and he was just so worn. It wasn't funny. I like George Clooney when he was on ER, and in the movie The Perfect Storm, which I haven't reviewed. But beyond that, I don't like George Clooney at all. I hate his politics. He's not worried about what goes on in this country. He worries what's going on in Syria. He worries about Syria. If you like Syria so much, then move there. Then get the hell out of America. Go over there. That's my little reaction for this video. But in terms of him playing Batman, he was adequate. I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't like Michael Keaton. He was very good in it. And possibly even Val Kilmer. They were better than George Clooney was. But as a movie itself, I thought it was definitely the worst one in the series. And they also brought in Alicia Silverstone to play Batgirl in that film. And of course, anybody knows anything about Batgirl. Batgirl is actually supposed to be Barbara Gordon, the police commissioner's niece. I mean, not commissioner's niece. Commissioner Gordon's daughter in the Batman universe. Not only was that established in the old original television show, but in the various cartoons over the years. In 1977, the new Adventures of Batman and Robin was aired on CBS and CBS Television Network, plus the 1990s and early 2000s Batman cartoons. Then just the Batman the Animated Series, and it became Batman and Robin, and then it became The Batman. In the 2000s, the WB Network, or Fox, and then the WB Network cartoon shows. It was established that Barbara Gordon was Batgirl, and she was the Commissioner Gordon's niece. I mean, the Commissioner Gordon's daughter. In Batman and Robin, it was established that Barbara was Alfred's niece in the film. And what became cheesy was that Alfred was dying of a disease that affected Mr. Freeze's wife, and they happened to save him in the end of the film. I mean, it was kind of, an interesting little subplot, but not, they didn't become the main focus of anything. I mean, it was ridiculous. But I mean, as a film, I thought it was, entertaining, but it's hard. That movie is hard to go through. Too many plot holes, too many ice puns, and all that type of thing. But if you were a Batman fan, you gotta like the whole thing, like the whole 4 movies. Well, another video I'm gonna do the Christopher Nolan films and divide it up, because it's gonna take way too long. But like I said earlier at the beginning of this, earlier on in this review, and now you're gonna get tired of me referring to the 1989 movie, because that was definitely the best one out of the whole series. But the 1989 movie, even though this is the original one of the series, a lot of people refer to this as the original Batman movie. It's not the original Batman film. People say, well, how can you say that? I said, well, it's very simple. Because back during the 40s, when they had a serials. And the old Saturday morning serials. And they had series with Batman and Robin in there. And that was like movie serials. But then in 1966, after the first season of the Batman television series, they made a full-length movie. And they had the 4 main villains that everybody knows. They had Cesar Romero playing the Joker. You have Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, and Lee Merriweather, the former Miss America, playing Catwoman. Plus, of course, you have Burt Ward and Adam West playing Batman, Robin, and Batman, respectively. They made a full length, like an hour 35 minute or an hour 40 minute movie. So that was the original Batman film. Well, with Adam, the one that's based on the television show. That was the original Batman film. And then, of course, some 20 years later, they made, the 89, 23 years later, they made the original Batman film, became a huge franchise. and became even a bigger franchise with the Christopher Nolan films. And stay tuned for those for that video to come out on YouTube for me. Like I said, this is, I think, of all the superheroes, I think except for maybe possibly the possible exception of the X-Men, has the most movies in it. It has 7. Well, it technically has 8 movies, including 1966 film. So it technically has 8 movies in that series. 7 huge blockbusters. Because the Superman had 6. Superman had 6. Thor had 2 films. Iron Man had 3 movies. Spider-Man had 5. Including when it came out earlier this year, they have 5 films. So in terms of, as the X-Men, I forgot, I lost count how many X-Men films they were, because they did some backstories. I think they did, I think they also did about 6 or 7, plus an individual movie with Wolverine in it. So you had some individual ones with X-Men in it. I think it's almost just as much as the Batman series in terms of films. But I still think that Batman was like the second, other than Superman. Batman was the second big comic book action movie to come out. Because I think the 3 big superheroes that I grew up with was Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman. Superman and Batman were actually the Super Friends cartoons back in the 70s together. Batman had his own cartoon series back in the 60s when I never really saw it. And then in the 70s they had a new version of Batman and Robin. And then of course in the 90s he had the Superman, the Batman, the animated series that was on Fox, and then eventually on the WB network. And of course I grew up with the Spider-Man cartoons. And of course Spider-Man was the last one of what I consider the big 3 superheroes that had their own cartoon, their own franchise movie series. You can see the X-Men, but the X-Men came out, I think, the year before the first Spider-Man film came out. Another review of the Batman movie series. Please like the video. Please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward the video onto your Facebook pages. Thanks for watching.